PT Cortina City, and Papa is the daily driver, and it has been for the last 7 months, I would say. And Papa is just, well, KP these days, folks, but Papa KP is rough and ready. Just been parked under a tree and got blitzed, absolutely blitzed. Don't park under trees, folks. Oh, you get this. Very messy, very messy. Update, is this the dreaded fleet update video, we ask? Oh my god, that's just, that is 2 days. Some serious crapping pigeon there, just parked under that tree, and that's what you get. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. What do those birds eat? So I've got to get an axle on this. This is the noisiest axle this side of Funky Town. So Papa eventually gets an axle. I did have one in stock which needed a rebuild. It's now in the boot. It's been rebuilt. Don't inquire about the price. A small fortune to get an axle built. It was a noisy 375 axle that I had in stock. Always needed to be rebuilt, so it's now been done and paid for. Broke the bank, but it's ready to fit to KP. We got it right that time. We got it right that time. So it's just a case of swapping the backing plates on the rear drums, checking the bushes when we take this axle off. I have done the upper voids, but I'll have a look at the other bushes on the trailing arms and stuff like that. We're going to drop this axle, we're going to get the new one on. It should be a whole lot quieter, a much smoother drive. That wheel nut, man. Oh yeah, hell yeah. Let's get on with this job. Okay, so that axle is off, and I suppose not surprisingly, with a car this old, the rest of the bushes are absolutely shot as well. I've done the upper voids, as you can see there. However, the rest are all gone too. I'm going to have to pull those out. Luckily, I've got some original bushes here. These will be fine. These are all new. So we'll put rubber bushes on this. We won't do Superflex, there's no need, or Flowflex bushes. We'll keep Flowflex in the top because they always go first. If any bushes are going to go, it's those top voids, so I will always keep those because they're easy to change. They're split half and half. So yeah, I've got to get that all bushes back in. The whole lot's gone. I thought it was a bit skippy. Right, I'm going to get my bush extractor next. Hopefully these will come out without any fuss. They can, even with a bush extractor. As you might know, if you've got a Cortina 3, 4 or 5, you may know that these can be fun. This outer shell can fuse to the arm, but you only know till you get the extractor on if it's going to go. Now, the way that bolts are on this, every bolt I've pulled has still been clean and shiny. You can see that galve still on it. So hopefully they won't be too bad to get those bushes out, because the rust with this car being in a dry climate, it came from British Guiana, if you didn't know the story on KP, a dry climate. So it's bush extraction tool over in the spares department, in the tools department. We should have, and there it is waiting for us. This is what you need, and we'll set that up now and get these in, start building this axle up. There's the new axle, or the rebuilt one. It's a 375 ratio diff, which will give us better driving, what we want. Seeing that we've got the Pinto engine in here now, it's got the torque to pull on a lower ratio diff. So I'll keep cracking on with this. That's KP for axle swap. Okay, I've set the bush extraction tool up. If you've ever used one of these before, I use some lubricant on the threads, just makes life easier. It's not going to get into the casing of the bush, but it helps with the friction on the threads of the extractor. I've just gone in and it's started to go. It has cracked because I can see just a lip protruding there, so I've just slackened back off and just make sure it's centralized, because you can go in at an angle, it can skew off to the side. So once it starts to pull it, I've just gone back use the impact gun, it's a lot easier, and then just impact it bit by bit. So we're going to keep on easing this out. Of course the bush goes into this empty part there, that's hollow, and you've got to have the high tensile bolt on it. So if you have one of these and the bolt's missing, you want to just put a normal bolt on, but you've got to get a high tensile bolt, because it'll just strip the threads. So I've done that in the past where I've had these and the bolt's been missing. I think even the high tensile bolt can eventually go. This one's in good order, so it's all down to that really. A lot of force created when you screw those threads up. Let's see if we can ease this out now. Here we go. Not too bad. So that one's gone okay. Let's hope they're all like that. So that's how you get a bush out with the extractor. It does work. Pete C back on another job after doing the axle on rewind, after doing the axle on Papa, or as it's known these days, KP. We've got multiple jobs on the go. Now I lost the blimmin' footage of finishing off the axle on KP, so you just see me pulling it out, but the new axle's on, so I have to apologise, I've lost a bit of footage, but we'll go back on the road and I'll show you how quiet it is on KP. An accident on, this is all fleet stuff, an accident on Ruby. I'm mixing my cars up today. The sump hit a blooming great big rock and I knocked a hole, scratched a hole in the sump, so I've had to jack this car up, take the sump plug off, and I was going to take the sump off the car, but the hole I've used JB Weld for now because I haven't really got the time just at the moment to finish this off. So I've got the JB Weld, which is good stuff, and I just patched the hole up with that. One day I'm going to have to take the sump off, but the JB's held it. I'm just testing it now. Change the oil and change the filter on this car. It was due that anyway, and there's no drips. I did notice as well the sump bolts were slightly loose, so torqued them back up because this was slowly dripping oil. And I think, I don't know, the sump scratch isn't terrible. It's not ripped a hole in it, it's just pinholed it where the refill plug is, the drain bung. It's hit that and it's twisted it and it's sort of tore the metal. So I cleaned it back with a crocky and then I JB welded around it and smoothed it off. Best I could do for now. It's not how I'd want to do it, but without taking the engine out, you just can't get the sump off. So that's that car, but other than that, it's running. This is on rotation. I've been using it off and on during the last few months. Runs nice, still going good on Ruby. Oil change, and just checked it, serviced it. That's good, so that's okay. Papa's okay, it's a daily driver, KP. The axle, as I said, is quiet. You saw that footage just then, doing the void bushes and doing the axle swap. So that's quiet. I'll take, as I said, I'll take you on the road with that so you can see how quiet it is. Then we've got Tina G. Tina G's outside at the moment, and Tina G's also got a scratch sump. If you look, this is about the same level of damage that Ruby's got. see there, where in the old days Tina G was too low, those springs. I eventually ended up putting standard springs on it from a GT. But before that happened, the standard springs were on it, had the lowered springs on it. It was, again, had its share of speed bump hits, and this Sump, as you can see, is a speed bump hit. And this is the area there where this one's also got a leak. Now, this engine used to leak oil, and it was always going to be this. It's probably happened for years, and I just never looked at it. So I've took the engine out, and I've jet washed it back, degreased it. I always like to have the engine completely clean as much as I can. So this was heavily jet washed, and then it was cleaned up and then put onto the engine stand. So I used my block and tackle. You've seen me when I put the KP engine in the other garage. The block and tackle over the RSJ is a great way for me. It ends up being pretty easy to do on your own with the block and tackle. It's much more, for me anyway, much more manoeuvrable than the engine crane. The engine crane tends to not be able to get under the cross member of a Cortina, but the block and tackle with an RSJ above, you can roll the car back and forwards and manoeuvre it over the slam panel just as you like. So this is Tina G's engine. It's never been out. I might have took it out years ago in the 90s, but it's never been out. I don't know the history on this engine, except to say it's probably, what, an 80,000 mile engine. But I did seem to recall when I had that car that it had an engine rebuild. So I actually don't know how many miles this engine has done. Now, it was always a good runner. It never smoked or anything. The stem seals were the only thing that needed doing, and indeed still need doing. So what I'm thinking of this, the sump needs repairing. The original reason the Tina G broke down, which isn't been on Patreon, or it's not been on my YouTube, so obviously I've not done anything for a long time, apologies for that, was that the flex plate went on this. So I was on the M6, and the flex plate shattered. Tina G's an automatic. I'll show you the knackered flex plate later. But that went, and so the engine had to come out anyway. And when I took the engine out, that's when I spotted the sump and realised that'll be why this engine always used to have a little oil drip. I always used to think that it was the rear crank seal on this engine, and one day, again, you have to take the engine out, that crank seal needs doing, but I don't think it is. I think it was always the sump that was leaking, so I might leave that crank seal alone and just fix the sump. In this case, I'll probably take the sump off and braze it, then put it back on. I'm not going to mint the engine up, I'm just going to tidy it up. I'll do the stem seal, so I'm going to take the head off and do the stem seals on it, then put everything back together. I've already started stripping it down. As I said, it's nice and clean, so we've got a sort of clean operation going on here. So that's good. So I'm going to start by taking off the rocker cover, then I'm going to take off the cylinder head. Then I'm going to flip the engine round, I'm going to take off the sump, braze that up. I've got a new gasket kit for this, top end and bottom end gasket kit, so we'll have a little look. Then we'll also be able to see the condition of the cylinder bores, which I've never looked at for probably ever, and see what it just looks like generally inside. Initial thoughts on it are, let me get a torch, initial thoughts on it are that, hold on, here's the torch. One that's charged anyway, that the water jacket is clean. Have a look here, folks, come on in. That water jacket there, you can see, let the camera do its auto exposure. Can you see how clean that is? That's because we've been all its life, and I've not jet washed this out, by the way, this is as is, because it's always had a 50-50 mix of antifreeze. It's kept it clean, so this looks initially really good. It's not a crusted up jacket on there. We could double jet wash it out, in fact we probably will anyway, just to be bolt and braces. I'll stick the jet washer nozzle in there when it's just the cylinder block. The rest of the parts I'm going to leave. Now I may be converting this to power steering as well, so that's going to be an interesting bit of the video as well. Hold on, I'll do that torch, there we go. That's going to be an interesting bit of the video as well when we after the jet washing, it's all cleaned up and we strip it down and we begin to rebuild it. I have enough parts just, I think, for a second power steering setup. Now, Tina G was always heavy on the steering because it's got the 185 tyres. Papa, I considered the power steering setup for Papa, but Papa's on 165s and that's a little bit easier to turn in parking situations. But Tina G was always heavy on the steering wheel. Now I'm considering a road trip in Tina G and taking it to Spain, which we'll be filming soon, and going to Gibraltar. There's a reason for that, which I'll explain when we do the Gibraltar road trip film. And you'll see why eventually when the film's gone that Tina G is going to be heading to Gibraltar. Now, Gibraltar's tight on parking spaces, I don't know if you know it, and I thought, well, it's always been a bit of a tricky one to park Tina G because of the steering. And I've got used to it as well on the other cars now, like this. Here's the power steering on Ruby. So I thought, yeah, I've got the power steering set up. Why not? So it will require a little modification to the cradle, which I'll take you out to now. Join me. We'll go out and see Tina G's state of play. Tina G's took some heavy hits, by the way, in terms of being left outside. There she is. So it's took some hits. This is what happens when you leave your car outside. Even though I've had the cover over it, it's still started to not become mint anymore. Doesn't take long, does it? It's not bad, but you know, I'm gonna have to do a bit of tidying up in here. So Tina G is not going to be a concourse car. It never was a concourse car, but it's going to be used for a special mission. So I'm just going to tidy it up. I'm not going to do paint work. I'm just going to get the power steering on. I'm just going to get the flex plate fixed because it's shattered. As I said, that's the reason initially it broke down. And then Tina G is going to be a bit of a mission. Going to go on a bit of a mission. So we'll just tidy it up and put a bit of paint on that cradle. Get this power steering, manual steering rack out. Get the power steering rack in. We've got to just grind a little bit of metal just to sit the power steering in. These ridges here, that ridge has to just be scalloped out, and the area around the steering linkage as well, just near where the cone of the power steering comes, it hits. So it's not much. You have to just take a little bit of metal off. Done it before. So that's going to happen. And look at this as well, patrons, look at this. This was our 6 hose and it's already gone. Look, it's cracked. Already. The cracking on the fuel hose there, so that needs replacing. So we're going to go through this bolt and braces, ready for its big road trip. It took some hits. It took some hits. The vinyl roof ideally really should be taken off. The roof should be sanded back down and painted because I can feel little spots there. That needs work. Yeah, so that needs work. They all need work. Tina G needs some work. It's held out good, but it needs work. And this is, you know, I said I've had this car since 1993. And it's done me proud, it's done me well. Stuff like this, look. You know, it just starts to go, even though this is pumped full of wax oil. There it is. So yeah, road trip in this one, and I'm just going to do it as is. It's pretty well specced up. It's got the Alexa, it's got the electric mirror, the dimming mirror, it's got the MP3, Borg Warner 35 box. It's got the booster heater. The blower motor's been upgraded to a high output blower motor. So it's got the toys, and it'll do well on its little trip. So that's a job to do. Klaus Wunderlich there, fading away in the back with your tips for the top, your girls and your tips for the top. Good old Tina G just keeps on going. So back to the workshop then. you'll see that the gravel drive's been replaced with a resin drive. Very nice. Lights on, and let's see if we can get Tina G's engine. See, now we get that strobing. I really need to address this. I'm going to have a look if I can reduce that LED strobing effect. That's been a big problem for us on videos last year. Look at those lines, folks. We don't want those. I'm going to have to change the settings on this camera in a minute. I can see them on the preview screen that it's strobing. Don't want that. I don't know how to mitigate it. Extra LED lights perhaps, I don't know. Right, timing belt off, cylinder head off, rocker cover off, timing belt off, cylinder head off, sump off. Then we'll inspect the engine, see how Tina G's engine has held out after all those years since 1993. Check out the lay of the land. Parts of the engine here, ignore the crankshaft, that's from the 600 unit which failed in KP. Water pump there, clean. Look how clean that is. God, that jacket and water cylinder system, cooling system on Tina G stayed really good. Rocker cover took a hit. Cam belt cover, sorry, took a hit. Look at that. Should we repowder coat that at least? I think we should at least do that. Inlet manifold. I could tidy up these parts, but you see, the thing is, when you start doing that, you're into like a restoration again. But that's particularly bad, so maybe I will paint that, clean that up, vapor blast that so it's shiny, maybe lacquer it. A couple of little touches that need doing there when the engine gets rebuilt, because if I concourse the engine, you've just seen the engine bay there, and then you've got to start concoursing the engine bay, and it's just going to be a usable car. I'm going to keep these cars. So Ruby will be kept in tip-top. So this wants an engine bay clean-up just to bring it back to spec. Ruby's always going to be concourse. Swampy, of course, always will be. And so will Bramble. So those three cars, I can manage that. I can manage to just keep them with the toothbrush out. You bring them in. You degrease them after the trips. You rotate the cars. KP, the daily driver, it's as is. We'll go and take you on the road trip with the axle. Don't forget, I've not forgotten. So KP will remind you and catch up. So it is a bit of a fleet update, this. It's a back to reality, Pete C back to reality video. So road trips and maintenance is the best I can do for now. Are you doing any classic car full rebuilds? Not at the moment, there's no room. And I don't know, welding work, perhaps. There might be some jobs. Full on Mark III resto, not just yet. Too much, not enough space and too much stuff to do first before we even think about whether we're going to do that. But I would consider fixing other people's cars and doing general welding on other people's cars if the price can be agreed, where I cover my time at least. But yeah, there's lots to think about and lots going on, a bit of multitasking and trying to set a priority job. And I think the priority job is going to be to get Tina G back on the road, so that it can do its road trip, and just clean these cars up and park them up and have them done as best you can. And then so you've got a clean mine, the clean garage, all the parts away. I'm selling a lot of parts as well. I've decided to have a big parts clear out. So if there's anyone on Patreon with a Mark III, I might have some bits for you at Patreon rates. I hope I can help somebody out with some bits, because I just want to get down to like a single or double of items. I've got like triple and quadruple of items, various stuff, a lot of trim, a lot of chrome window trim, a lot of glass, a couple of bumper spares, grills, spare grills, there's all sorts. So I'm going to be shifting some of my spares as well, a lot going on. So in my mind, I'm trying to keep it organised in my head and not too overwhelming with jobs where you get nothing done because you think I've got to do this, and nothing gets done. So you've got to concentrate on one thing. So that one thing today will be to strip this and get the cylinder head off. Okay, so yeah, that's it. And that timing belt, I know that timing belt was done not long ago. I've got the markup, the sticker that I make, like this one. I do these stickers. Is there one on this car? Definitely when the cam belts are changed, they have a sticker on. There will be one on this. But all the cars that have had the cam belts done with the mileage written on it, T to G's, was done not that long ago. So this cam belt can be kept. So we'll be keeping that cam belt, this low mileage one. But other than that, I might need a few parts. I think the stat was new, the water pump was new. So most of the bits, the alternator was new. Most of the bits on this engine were all kept serviceable and all kept running good. Electric ignition unit there. There's not many parts to get for it other than gaskets. I've got the top hat stem seals. These are, I think, the Mark III CVH stem seals. They're better than the normal stem seals that you get with the head gasket kit. The top hat ones, they're a bigger stem seal and they don't rise up. I'm sure me and Richard did these stem seals and then they rose up. And it started, you know, you get that puff of smoke when you first crank the engine. That was always happening on this engine. Hasn't done it on any of these. So it's not done it on Ruby, it's not done it on Bramble, hasn't done it on Swampy. But this engine with the stem seals that were replaced on it, new ones, not that long after, it started smoking on startup again. So I don't know what happened there. It could have been rubbish stem seals perhaps. So yeah, it was always serviced. You can see new plugs in it. It was always looked after. But in terms of the cylinder wall, I don't know. I never knew the compression readings on this engine either, but it never blew smoke, it never burnt oil, never overheated, it ran smooth. So I think that this engine was rebuilt. I'm sure it was. I seem to remember in the 90s finding a receipt in the dash. I'll have a look to see if I've still got it. But I'm sure it was a new engine rebuild. I mean, it's stamped up correct, but then new engines could be re-stamped. I mean, it does look like an aftermarket stamp, but then again, I've seen different stamping, so I don't know. I did notice a stud missing on the exhaust. Oh, also talk about the exhaust. The exhaust was knackered, rotted through when I undid it at the manifold, so I've got a new exhaust as well. Plenty going on anyway. Enough of the Bramble ramble. Get you on the tripod, try and fix that strobing thing, and let's strip this down. See you in a sec. PC on Tina G's engine. Just checking if the strobing's gone, and it's not. It's still strobing. Just don't know how we're going to get around this. I really don't. Switch to 24 frames a second. Still strobing. Not as bad, but it's still there. How do we get around that? What setting is best? I'll try a few more. That's terrible. 25 frames a second seems to be better. So that's a little bit better on 25. Let's stick to that for now. You might get the odd line, but it's not going crazy there. Okay, let me know if you have this problem. These are LED lights, and fluorescents don't do it. So I did notice, you know, when I was doing videos last year, that towards the end, when I was using more of the DJI camera as opposed to my Osmo camera, the DJI strobed more, but again, it's down to your settings. That is a lot better now, what I'm doing here, so let's stick with that for now. Okay, let's get on with it. Come on. Right, let's get this off. One of the best things I bought was these Sealy little compact power tools. Great for speed. Oops, lost that one. Back in the magnet tub for you. Just makes life faster. There we go. There we go. Really quick. There we go. Right. Tap. Whoops. Oh, that's tight. That's tight. Let's get a screwdriver on that. Here we go. Right. Pop this off. Some washers there, but we'll pick them up in a minute. Get them now. You know what? Some of them are different sizes. Will OCD me out. Boom! That one flipped and landed straight in the tub. The magnetic tub, I don't believe it. Wow, the washer flipped off and landed in the magnet tub. Okay, right, that's that off. The amber nectar cam, shiny and good. It's all been lubricating itself nicely in there. I think we need to do anything. That original cam, I think there. So we see the top hat's not really. We're just going to take the head off. Cam belt off next. Then that whole head unit can come off. We need to get the star drive in, and then the impact gun, and blast those cylinder head bolts off. But before I do it, slacken off the tensioner. Take that cam belt off, see you in a sec. Tensioner bolt out, and then we've got to undo the spline bolt there to release the tensioner. So that's a spline fitting on a quarter drive. Do that now. Find my spline tool. Sykes Pick Advance one there. That goes into that, and that will undo that with the appropriate socket. Really, this is the wrong ratchet, really. Nope, it's got it anyway. Undo that. This is ready to tap back and loosen off. It's stuck in position, but it will go. That is now free. So it's tensioned back, so what you do, just nip it back up in the free position. You would normally just get a little bar. We can do it like this. Just do this. Then lock it up. Lock it up like that. That's free to come off. No need to us to mark it because we can set all that up later. We've got to get off the crank pulley because we're putting on a double pulley. If it's power steering, I'll go find that double pulley. If we're going for power steering, we're going for power steering, but we'll do that later. The head's free to take away now once we get the cylinder head bolt tool. Spline tool can lift the head off. We're good to go. That is the tool. I'm going on the impact gun. Lock and load. Make sure we're in. I always forget which way is reverse on this. Let's just get this right. Oh, here's reverse. One's tight. We'll do that one by hand. I've got new bolts. That one's tight. That one's inaccessible. That one went in the end. That one's a no-go. It's a socket set. So there's two there that are tight. As I said, we're using new bolts anyway. These, I've got some new Victor Reams head bolts. 2 to go. I have to get on the breaker bar and lift it off. Oh, that was tight. Alright, that was so tight. Only just getting that one. Only just accessible. But it is accessible. It's gone anyway. That's it, they're all free. So we can spin these out. Just get the extension to spin those out. And I'll quickly spin out these. Okay, a go! Right, that's all the head bolts. We don't need to keep them in the order because they're new. I think if you were reusing these, is it right? Am I right that you put them in the same order? I know there's a head tightening procedure. That we do know. Let's get these out. And then tap the head with a copper hammer. Belt is off, everything is off. Right, let's see what it looks like in those cylinder bars, folks. Copper hammer coming up. Copper hammer. Little tap. And you're good to go. Head off. Put the head on something plastic or wood. Don't put it on concrete. There's our engine. Can you see out there in Patreon land? Hell yeah. What we got? Well, it's not coked. Tell you what, that's clean. That is clean. Oh, that is smooth. There's no wear ridges on Tina G's engine. The pistons, it looks in absolutely immaculate. Tina G, after all the years. How have you done it? This is amazing. That, even the piston heads, the crowns of the pistons clearly marked with Ford. 2 litre pistons. Where's the torch? I've got to show you this. Where's my torch? Why do you keep hiding my torch? Torches, lighters, bottle openers, car keys. Plus, it's a rebuild, plus 0.5. So oversized pistons. This is a rebuilt engine. I thought so. Well, I've not done it. Right, this engine, when I got the car, it was on 56,000 miles. It's gone round, so I've put 60 on it. That is nice. I mean, okay, I've got 2, it's at top dead centre at the moment, so I can't see the bore on those cylinders yet, so I turn it, but wow. I mean, nothing to do to this. Head gasket off, and then clean it up. Even that's done. But this was redone. Me and Richard, I think we had the no, I've not had the head off. Look at the condition of that. Have I ever had the head off this myself? I must have done at some point. Oh, this is tidy. I'm going to be doing. We don't have to take that to the machine shop. I'm very pleased. I'm bringing you in. Bringing you in. Come and have a look. Come on. What are you doing up there? I've got you on a quick release on the tripod. Look, that's a little quick saddle release on the tripod there. Enables you to quickly get the camera off for instances like this. There you go. Is that rust there? Yeah, that's because it's been parked for ages. You can still see the cross hatching. And there is that marking on the piston. 2 litre HC, high compression. And +5 just stamped in each piston. So, right, I ain't taking it to the machine shop. There's no need. Spend unnecessary money. This has got loads of life in this engine. Time now, flip it and take the sump off. Even the head gasket came off clean. That surface there, just a brass wire wheel on there to clean that up. So what's the head like? What are the valves like? See, I've just put this down now on top of that plastic box. That needs to go on some wooden chocks. Okay, and what I'd like to do, to be fair, is do the usual Pete C, clean up the floor, clean up the area. Look, we're putting our feet everywhere here. Quickly run out of room. See, really, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll push Ruby out for now, so we've got some working space. Let's not mess around. It's not raining outside, sunny day. We've got Alexa controlling our everything around the home these days. A little mini Alexa wall unit there. Garage door on.
Okay.
Away we go. So we can Alexa controls all sorts of stuff these days. Very handy actually with the garage doors. Basically, with the garage door, when I'm coming home, just about a minute from home, I just go garage doors and gates open, and everything's ready, and you just drive straight in. You can even get Alexa to close it if the sensor's clear. So I wired into the home and door controller a little Alexa unit, and there's a sensor which you have to fit, which I've put. Can you see it? I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Oh yeah, you can. There. Hold on. Where are you? Here. Whoa! That's how you close it. We don't want to be doing that. It's like a manual override. It tells it if it's open or closed. But yeah, so if the door's open, you can ask Alexa, is a garage door left open, or she'll tell you your garage door's still open, because that switch is reading. So you can basically say, after an hour or so, Alexa will pipe up and go, you do know your garage door's open? Which is handy. It is quite handy. Yeah, some people are against Alexa, aren't they? By the way, talking about AI and Alexa and stuff, AI, one of the very last videos I did before I had a break, sorry about the break, was about AI, and some people said, oh, just unplug it, but I was trying to explain about that. It's nothing to do with unplugging anything. What I was saying is that exponential growth, doubles and doubles again and doubles again and doubles again, has been happening since the last year, since I put the last AI video up, and a hell of a lot's happened since then. It's now getting into like the video stages where you could get AI to go through your back catalogue and basically re-engineer it and re-film work. It's just crazy. It really is, and it's going to impact everyone's lives. If you've got WhatsApp on your phones, folks, you'll probably soon see an icon that comes up on the WhatsApp with an AI icon, whereby you can do fancy photo editing, you can write reports online with WhatsApp, on the fly editing, all sorts. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but you can't underestimate what it's going to do. I know I keep saying it, and if you can get your head around what I'm trying to say, our whole lives, the way we do it, is going to change, or is changing, has changed, to do with AI. Certainly in digital media realms. Okay, it's not going to affect our engine build today. Okay, because I don't think Alexa would know anything about a Pinto engine. let's just, I doubt this because it's the wrong, you need ChatGTP to do this. ChatGTP is an AI thing. Alexa's not really AI, but let's just see anyway. We're going off topic. Alexa, tell me all about the 2-litre Pinto Ford engine.
Buenas tardes, Peter, from motorbiscuit.com. The first Ford Pinto uses a 2.0-litre engine that delivers a decent amount of power.
Well, that wasn't very interesting, was it? But let's just say, right, that's not done it, okay? So that was a fail. But if that was ChatGTP, it would now tell me absolutely everything about this engine. And I suppose that's not the best example. I suppose a really good example of AI would be, let's say, sometimes I have to do health and safety and RAMS reports, risk assessment management, and you've got to write up the report. Nowadays, we bang it into the ChatGTP with some of the parameters, and it spits out a nice thing. You can get it to write emails for you. I even saw, Andy the Lens sent me a link, a program that writes songs. I worry for artists here because you type in the description of the song that you want, say it's in an 80s rock theme, then give it an idea what you want the song to be about. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit gimmicky now, but it actually bangs out a decent tune, which you can put on your YouTube videos copyright free. So I could put Pete C, Cortina City, likes to do his engines, he likes to weld those cars, and it'll give it in a rock tune. You can even do it in the style of a band. Although it doesn't really like you referencing bands, I notice, which is good. That's good for the artist. But if it gets a rough idea what you're trying to do, and then off it goes, and then it's a tool, and however you use that tool, you know, you can misuse it. And I suppose that AI only is what it learns from what we do, because that's how it basically builds itself. And if it sees pictures of people rocking their heads from side to side on TikTok, it's going to think that that's what people like, and it's going to end up learning from that. So it is what we make it, ultimately. And it's up to the world to teach it something that's good for humanity as opposed to garbage. But the main point I'm trying to make, not particularly about what it's going to produce, is how quickly and across the board it can reach into our lives. It's very interesting. I won't go on about it anymore, except to say that it'll be here quicker than you think, and it'll surprise you, okay, in many aspects of life. Right, very pleased about this. Extremely pleased about Tina G's engine condition. So looking forward to taking the sump off. OCD is here. Tools are on the floor. Pete doesn't like that. You don't either. So Pete moves the car out because it's a sunny day for a change. We've had the worst summer in the UK. If you're in the UK, you'll know exactly what I mean. 2024 summer hasn't got going, and it's mid-July. No good, folks. Rain and cold. I was at a car show yesterday, my first of the year at Leighton Hall, and it was freezing. Right, I'm rolling this out, I'm cleaning up, I'm going to get a tub, I'm going to put everything neatly away. We'll flip that head and just have a look at the valves. We'll get our valve spring compressor and we'll get those top hats fitted to that. Then that's done. The cam lobes are great. There's nothing to do. It could even be bolted back on the engine. Should we put some engine black on there? I don't know. What do you reckon? Answers on a postcard, please. Pete C. Patreon. YouTube. Cortina City. Right, the head's off and clean, but I'm just checking something. I'll show you in a minute. Identify Pinto unleaded head, because there's a stamp on it. Head markings there. Right, just look at this. I don't need the keyboard. Hi guys, you get a bottom head is stamped the same. Here we go. Look for any stamp letters near number 4 plug hole, P or PP or R. If it's an injection head, lead free is standard. So this tells you if your head. This screen's great, by the way. Not all injected heads have hardened seats. I'm just looking, bit of research. Also the ports will be different. All post 89, I think it's an 88, but anyway, code R is unleaded, and if we look on here, we have a code R stamped in the block just here. Which means this is an unleaded head, and it's in good order as well. I must have fitted it and forgot. It's been running very nicely. One cylinder's one plug. Look how clean that plug is. And all the plugs, this has been set just right. This engine's been running good. That one's a bit oily, so that's probably where the worst stem seal was. There's nothing to do to this. There's nothing to do to that head either, except clean it up and do the stem seals. I'll show you the top hat seals and why they're called top hat seals. These are the best ones to get. Actually, they're in the other garage. Come along with me and I'll show you. We need to bring them out anyway because we've got to get the valve spring compressor to fit these, and we can put that head back on. There's nothing to do. Tina G there waiting in the wings. I've got the power steering kit being assembled on the floor as well. I think they're in here. Well, this is locked. I've got to take the items off the top. Hang on a minute, I'll be right back. I've got to open up my snap-on. Somewhere. Oh no, don't say you've lost them. I had those. Is that them? No, it's a Victor Reams box. Definitely had them. There we go. There you go. Right. This is what you need. 12 31056-01. I think that's correct. Sorry for the walking about. But this is top hat. These, they're just a better stem seal. That looks like it wouldn't fit. I think they do. So everyone recommends me fit those. So we will do. One-handed, the old usual one-handed situation. Right, so we've got them. We know that's in good order. The thermostat even looks good. I've been servicing this, haven't I? You know I have. I just can't remember. Remember. Ooh. Anyway, there's not much to do to that. The only thing that I don't like doing is the clearances, the actual cam clearances. I'm terrible at it. I'm absolutely terrible. So, well, why not get better then? Okay, so once we've got that done, we can put it back on the engine. We'll do the sump, and then engine's back together again. That's it, over. Thank you very much. The only thing that worries me is the ARP bolts on the flywheel. They say you're not meant to reuse them. Right, power steering then. That's the power steering bracket for the side of the Pinto block. That's the bottom pulley wheel, crank pulley wheel, double belted as you can see. A 78 HM code on that one, so that needs to go on. We'll need a hub puller. That is the alternator double pulley bracket. Now to me, is that the right diameter keyhole? It should be. They can be a bugger to get off on alternators. That's a double pulley for the alternator. That's a double pulley for the water pump. And I think that's the right spacing. A 79 HF code on there. And that's the pulley for the power steering pump. And that's the power steering pump. Damaged, look. It's crushed in storage. New old stock, but crushed in storage so that the cap isn't going to fit. Now we can either try and straighten this out, or I have got another housing, a new old stock housing, just the housing. Curiously, the guy that sold me this pump gave me it with a housing to fix it. We could slice with the slitting disc this, slice the other one off, and we could just braze round and fit the mint undamaged opening part of the other pump onto this. But essentially it's a new old stock pump. We're going to need the pipes to connect. I'll go and get the steering rack now. So I'll put that all there for now, so Tina G gets power steering. Pinto power steering then, folks. If you've come into this video by googling it for power steering on a Pinto, you found Pete C Cortina City that's fitted power steering. This will now be the third install of power steering on a Cortina Mark III. Should apply as well to 4 and 5. At the same time, you power steering folks have caught me just checking out the engine of the car whilst it was out of the car, because the flex plate had shattered. The flex plate had shattered. I've got another flex plate. I've had one laser cut, and here's the rub. Do we use the laser cut flex plate, which is just out of normal steel, and indeed was the original flex plate, hardened steel? Will my regular steel flex plate not be up to the job? I don't know. What we don't want to do is fit that, and then that is the wrong type of metal. So I'm going to try and research what metal they were made of. It doesn't seem to be anything particular, but we'll check it out. We could all do it by perhaps drilling into the knackered, smashed up flex plate to see if a drill bit goes through it dead easy. If it was hardened steel, you'd feel the drill bit struggling. That's one way. You could ping it, ting it, have a look at it. I don't know. Research the internet as well and just see. But anyway, the sump was also damaged, so the engine had a little tiny leak. So we're going to take the sump off and bash it out with a hammer to get it back convexed again. And then we're going to braze around the damaged area. Then I'm going to put thinners in it and see if it leaks, because thinners is a good way of checking if something leaks, because it's so thin it goes through stuff. Or you could put petrol in it and then put a match on the other side, and if nothing ignites, you know there's nothing coming out. But be careful doing that one. Okay, Pete C at the controls, Cortina City, back from the dead, with lots of mess on the floor as usual. You watch those old videos and you see me obsessing about mess on the floor. It's not gone away. We're just a year older. Going to get a plastic box, going to put all the stuff away, going to tidy up, have a little mini break. Curious about this. Will that fit my alternator? Shall we have a little quick look now? That just looks too small, but we're going to need it. Whoops, there's the alternator bolts gone, you nugget. I kept them specifically there. Right, let's have a look, everybody. Oh, I don't know. Is that the shaft diameter? Oh dear. Oh dear. No, because that's the shaft. I thought it was a bit odd. That ain't gonna work. Right, going round faster with this. Sump looks pretty beat up, to be fair. It's got pinhole starting there. I'm going to have to give this sump some TLC. Nearly there. Cylinder head's nicely cleaned up. That's looking like it won't need any work. Right, so get these washers, get them all in one pass. It's easier than getting them individually. Right, that's ready for the copper hammer. So I go across, I tap, I tap. Bit of it. Out we go with this. Okay, here we go. One sump. This needs a bashing out and a paint up, really, because we don't really want to be fixing a sump when the engine's gone back in the car, because you can't get to it. So I'm going to have to clean the sump up, powder blast, sandblast it and powder coat it. Looking initially clean in here, as they always do. Even rough engines look clean. Some build up on the gauze there. Really, what we don't want to do is mess with that gauze when it's upside down. It's going to go into the fuel pump. So that needs removing first. You don't want any debris going down into the fuel pump there. So watch that, there's some hardened oil deposits on that gauze. Other than that, nothing to do with it except clean up the remainders of the cork gasket. So we'll get a blade on there first and then go over it with the die grinder, just so you know what I was using. That's this die grinder, it's an air powered tool. Then I'm just using a brass bristle brush on it. Goggles when you use these because they fly off, so that's a handy little tool. My compressor's not quite up to the job of continuous. Whoa, I hit the tripod first time. We always have to do it. It's not up to the job, my compressor, really, for continuous use. Nice little compressor I've got, but we'll air blast this out in a sec. That pass with just a blade. Yes, stuff is going inside the engine, I know. Right, leave me with this. I'm there. Gonna clean it up. That old gasket off. We're nearly done for cleaning up and mating surfaces. I've done the cylinder head. I'll take you right down there now. Let's have a little look. We're just right down here. And the head's down there. Right, there we go. And that all looks good. Just got a little bit of cleaning up to do on some of the faces. I've done most of them, so that's good. There's the engine, then the crank. Nothing to do except clean that gauze. Put the air in here, get out the remains of the gasket, and then really we can look at, I've got a new seal for this, case end, both seals, and then get the, well, what's going to delay me now is this. So there's the damage that you saw earlier on. It's pinholed around here, quite pickled there. How thick the metal is, I don't know, but that's ready to go through. So really, it's pretty thick stuff. So I don't know, have you ever had a sump actually just rust through as opposed to getting road damage like this one's road damaged? But have you ever had yours pickle through? Tricky one. And maybe a better sump on that 1600 engine. I'm wondering if it's easier just to get the 1600 sump and just not use this one. I think that's what I'm going to do. I've got an engine, that 1600 engine that was in KP that was knocking. I reckon just pull the sump off that, to be fair. And that's going to be the easiest way. It keeps us moving, you see. This can be put into stores, and one day, if it's needed, it's there. I think that's what we'll do. Okay, this is the 600 engine, which I'm going to pinch the sump off, but before I do, I'm taking the cam out of it because it's a brand new cam that I fitted. This was KP's engine, but it was knocking, so I bought a brand new cam for this, all new followers and everything. I'm going to probably fit this to that because it's got to have the cam out of it. Well, not the cam out. If we're doing the stem seals, you basically got all the rockers off, the valves are out. You may as well take the cam out. You take the cam out, may as well put the new cam in. 600 cam's the same as a 2 litre, as far as I know. Answers on a postcard for that one, please. The only thing we've not done is change the shell bearings in the cam posts. I don't know how important that is. This has got new shell bearings in it, but I don't think you can knock them out. We'd have to see. I'm not sure about that. We'd have to see. I'd have to ask a few people. But anyway, we've got all the new followers. And if I'm speaking a bit funny, it's because I've just had a tooth extracted, and it was a monster. I'm going to show you the tooth that just came out of here. Oh, it was bad. So Pete sees another tooth out, but I get a replacement tooth fitted, so don't worry about that. We're not going to be toothless. We've got an implant under our insurance, a crafty little deal that I did. That's the cam. Considering it was brand new, it looks worn out to me. Only ran that engine for, I don't know, a couple of 100 miles. Nah, it's just wearing in marks, I think. Yeah, one new cam. As far as I know, they are the same. F04210. Okay, I've put the bolt in the end of it there as well, so we need to wrap that up for now. This is a delicate item, so we'll use this toweling. These white towelings are great. I get them from our local cleaning supplies, really good. One day I'm going to get a second-hand washing machine, put it in here and recycle these. I don't want to put these in my washing machine in the house. Oil contamination. Right, now then, this is, let's have a look what we got here. Any more head bolts? I took the head bolts off and then left one in just as I was doing. The one that I left in is the one that won't clear the bolt of the tower oil feed thing. So let's take that off. There we go. A gulp. That's in there for now. Spray bar there. We know about modifying the holes on the spray bars so that you get a better flow of oil. Right, this head has got nothing holding it on. And make sure you're still on screen. Where are we? Ah, there they are, as Thomas Edwards says. I didn't see you there. So we're going to take this off. Got all those head bolts off. Should have gone. Yep, All the head bolts are off. Nothing holding it on. Very strange. Normally just go. I've never known a head stick. But then I haven't done enough engines to know. Have I missed something? I've never known a head stick before. Hold on a minute. Let me adjust you. We're coming right into the screen. There we go. Bit of a better. I've never known a head stick. There's no bolts in it unless we've got a snapped off. Oh, hang on a minute. There's one more. Whoops. Whoops. We've got one more, folks. I thought that was a bit weird. I was going to say, that just never happens. Yeah, there we go. There's one here. Doesn't feel very good, that. It's a different spline, I think. What the hell's going on? No, can't be right. I don't know. Looks like it's a finer spline. Can't be. It can't be. It's not going in. Let's have a look. Oh no. There was some debris in there. Right, let's get this one out. We'll try again. If you take all the head bolts out. Right. That one was a bit stuck. There was debris in the head of the bolt. Tell you what, make life easier. Make life easy, Robert. Take that off. Slide it past that. Put that on there. Back on there. Always keep, these are hard to find bolts then. Right, now if I tap it now, or indeed probably if I just lift it, it's going to go. No, I don't want to tap it. There we go. Right, that's one cylinder head. Take it away. Tripod. Right. All the bolts from this engine are going in a different box, so I don't mix things up. This sump looks good. And that's it. Certainly not bashed like the other one. Be back in a sec. Hasn't been for a long time, so he's stuck on. I don't want to damage the flange here. That is stuck on. This is really stuck on. Got to be so careful here now. It's going a little bit. Wow, that's well and truly stuck. I've never seen one this stuff. It's going. There we go. Hey, it's stuck on with. Sheesh. Whoops, don't put it off the dolly. That's not the idea. One knackered engine, one decent sump. We'll clean that up straight on with that one. So that one, this one can go back on here. We may as well keep this all in one piece. There's an oil pump there. Getting the date 71. Well, now it's clean enough in here, but this engine knocks like crazy. I don't know what it is, but it's really loud. I'm never going to know. It doesn't really matter. So that's a half or a short engine going into stores. You never know when we might need some of those bits, but we won't be using that sump, so just a couple of bolts to hold it on, and that's it for that. Thank you and good night. Oops, see it'll come out the end, that's why. Right, pop that one down. That's it, so it needs those two. Right, we don't need this now. We'll wheel this back out of the workshop. We're done with this engine. Good donor. Well, lucky that I had that, so it's come in handy for something in the future. Great. As I say, that was KP's 1600 Pinto that was knackered. I bought it on a whim and took a chance. I knew the cam was knocking, cam was scored, so I did that, but then the rest of the engine was gone as well. So there's some bits off it. It's got a 600 manifold inlet, 600 inlet, and a new Weber carb. So stick that on eBay, see if anyone's interested. That's a new 600 single choke carb and inlet manifold. See you in a bit. We'll have a little break. And then I'm doing the crankcase seal, rear crank seal. So just pull this one out. You can just get a pick in there and sort of lever them out. They do come out quite easy. You don't need to take the bearing cap off. And then the new Victorines one goes on. That's coming into your screen now. The kits I like to use. I think these Victorines Reins are good quality. Seems a nice good quality sump gasket as well. We've also got some seals for the cam shaft as well, water pump, and the rest of the usual suspects are in there. The ends of here, of course, I think that is the crank there, the sump seal. There's a couple of little washers there which I don't know what they're for. There's a sump gasket, there's the wedges for the end here, the little wedges go in there. So yeah, that's the kit. And this seal was a very loose fit on the end. This one, once it goes on, it's tight. A little bit of fresh oil just to help it go on and clean the surfaces up. So I cleaned the surface of the crank because where it's been exposed, where the seal's back, this gets rust on it, and what you don't want to do is when you put your new seal on, drag it over rust, which could damage the delicate edges of the seal. So make sure that's polished and clean and then greased up as you slide in the new seal. Now it just needs tapping in. Whoops, don't push it in that far. So we just need to gently, equally tap it in on equal amounts. You know the score. Let's get that in nice now. Okay, carry on putting this back together. So that rear crank seal's in, and now the Victorines sump gasket. Just used a bit of stag seal. I've mentioned this before, well seal by Stag, jointing compound. Just run a bead all the way round, smooth it out. That helps this gasket seal better, and you can position it easier actually, line it all up. These rubber seals in over the end of each end of the sump, and then there's a little ear on the end of each gasket which tucks under the rubber cap seal here at the end, so you can see that. Let me just check on screen, see if you can see. Yeah, so this, I'll bring one out because it's not set yet. You've got a little tag and it just tabs, it just slides underneath there like that to complete the seal, and everything's flush then. So all that should be good. All we've got to do now is just another joint seal on top and place the sump in position. Everything in here is done. We put it all back together. But before I do, let me just gently get a ratchet on. Okay, on the aluminium. That's crushing that rubber seal at the end. I never trust those. That's alright, it's ready to go now, so I'm just going to bring everyone close. Do we feel someone being lazy here? You do. Don't worry, it's not going all the way down. See what I'm doing? Okay, got the manual. Clockwise from point A, your sump tightening sequence. So point A on this is that just up the top there, going clockwise round till you get to B, and then B clockwise again. So let's have a look. Let's have a look. Apply, so then tighten the bolts in the specific reference. Tighten the first stage in a clockwise sequence starting at point A. Then tighten the second stage in a clockwise sequence starting at point B. Tighten to the third stage after the engine has been running for 20 minutes. Okay, so it's clockwise, round we go. That's how we do it. So therefore, we just get the tool, which I've lost. How the hell did I lose that? Looking for my wrench. There it is. No, it's not. It's gone. Oh no, it's gone. No idea where it's gone. How do you lose that? Someone tell me this. There it is, on top of Henry. Okay. Coming into your screens now. From here, we're going clockwise. That's point B. Don't see really what the difference is. But we shall see. Back to point A, so now it wants clockwise from here, so that is now the final one. Then I'll just check by hand as well. You've got to be careful with these guns. I'm not doing it all the way. I'm going to feel it by hand. Right, that's 2 passes, and now reaching just below you, starting at A. Yeah, I can feel the final one. I'm glad I did it this way. This is a better way of doing it. The tool's okay to get it to a certain point, but the trick is not to over tighten, not to under tighten, not to squash that gasket completely. Well, I'm just feeling the torque on these. They're all accessible in the car, by the way, so worst case scenario you can, and as you say, they want you doing it when it's running, so obviously the implication of that is they are accessible. It sort of produces a wave, I suppose, in the metal, doesn't it, as it transfers the movement round. You always feel like you can tighten them more, but you shouldn't. It doesn't say use any Loctite on them. And that's it, we're done. We can flip the engine round the other way now. I can see the gasket spilling out. There's no need to go any more now. We'll just keep our eyes on these. As the book says, we'll run it up, and then we'll just go and check them again. So I think that's the right way to do it. And they're not tight, you know, but it is squashing the gasket quite a bit there. So I'm done with that. Right, okay. The rear crank seal is in, that's in. So there's nothing to stop me just putting this back down. We're all done there. Sump plug will tighten back up. That's a new one, so that's all right. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll actually tighten that up, because I have made that mistake once where I've hand tightened this when I built an engine, then built the engine and run the engine and it's come loose. So, right, that's it for that, that's it for that. Back to this side now. That's all cleaned up, cylinder head's all cleaned up, but that's it for today. I'm quitting while I'm ahead and just taking it easy these days. I have to take it easy these days, so just do that. Now put everything away and we'll catch you tomorrow. For me, it's a whole day. For you, it's just a few minutes. PC at the controls. Catch you in a bit. Just another day, and I've got the engine wheeled just to the side of Ruby there. Raining outside, what a bad summer we're having. Don't want to wheel Ruby out in the rain. What I've done today, this morning, mocking up the position, the approximate position of where the power steering rack would sit relative to the sump of the engine, based upon, handily, very handily, Ruby's setup. It's the same power steering, I think it's a Sierra rack, this one. So by measuring approximately on Ruby's position relative to the engine block, I can just get some axle stands and mock up the position here so that I can make the pipes. So you've got a high pressure output and a low pressure input. I think it's an input, yeah, it's draws low pressure, no, it draws back. High pressure comes out of the pump. Anyway, regardless of that, I use a little bit of welding rod to approximate the shape of the pipes that I've got to have built up. I haven't got any pipes for this, they've got to be made. So by bending this piece of welding rod, you've got a high pressure input and a return. I think that's a return. I think that goes back, yeah, under low pressure, back to the reservoir. Anyway, put that in position, and then some pipe, I've used fuel line in this case. Not obviously that's not the pipe we'd use, but for the low pressure I've left it slightly longer because you can cut yourself and it's just Jubilee clipped on. For the high pressure it needs to be exactly right because each end will have a proper fitted high pressure thread. So I've held that in place, and this tube suits for both applications because I can cut it. So it'll be longer for the low pressure one when they make it. Rather than giving them 2 sets of measurements at the pipe shop, I'm just going to make 2 exact pipes, although one pipe will have a low pressure hose connected to it. It's not the same hydraulic hose that fits on the low pressure. It's a more softer rubber, it's not a reinforced wall. Anyway, we've got to get to that thread output at the top of the pump. So that'd have to be an angled fitting to take the downward trajectory of the tube, and then it would come and land on this. So I've done that, I've mocked that up. So take that now, we're going to go for a road trip, that road trip we promised you about in KP. We'll take that with us. We need to take the rack with us because I don't know what type of fittings these are, the terminology of them. You'll see the fitting types there. Just here, I've marked the high pressure one with a blue dot, and then the low pressure one. So that's the rack. We're going to have to make up a steering joint as well, which we can do. Alternator needs to be of the small bearing type. Hang on while I step over the rack. It's all tight because I've not rolled out Ruby. Here's the pump. Bottom crank pulley doubled up there. Alternator with the double pulley on it. Now my alternator that come off Tina G is a large bolt fitting at the front, look, and that wouldn't take this double pulley, so we're going to have to get another alternator. Now I think Napa do one with that smaller thread size. That's the most common actually. This is an uprated alternator. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The water pump I wasn't happy with either. I've ordered one. It's got corrosion on the top. I don't like the way that aluminium's already started to come under attack. It's all it was all crunchy, so, and it was a viscous end on it. Not that mattered, but I don't like it. So I've ordered a new high quality pump. May as well, for 38 quid. It's not worth it. This was showing signs of corrosion. It's probably got loads of life in it, but anyway. So a double pulley for the pump. It's actually a Granada pump. It should actually be this type of pump that slightly angles to the left, if you see. I've noticed a lot of power steering reservoirs and pumps slightly angle outward, and I don't know why they do that. They all do it. There must be a reason. This is more vertical, which slightly annoys me, but it's probably not meant for this bracket. This pump, although it fits the bracket, I would have said that it would normally sit a little bit more at an angle at my 11 o'clock position. Anyway, I don't think it'll stop it working. So double pulley on the water pump as well, that fits. So what I did was, I've got the right size belt just by copying the Gates code, and in my case the Gates code is 6227. Okay, it's a Gates 677 MC, can't see it there, but that's the size of the belt. Gives the alternator halfway in its adjustable position, so you can get the belt off and then you can tighten the belt. So that a 6227 MC Gates belt seems to be the choice. All right, so we've got a pump, new old stock. We've got alternator pulley. We need to get an alternator. Crank pulley's fine. Double pulley. Luckily we had one. And simply on the water pump, double pulley. So that's all of that. And then what I did was straight edge some welding rods there, which we used for cutting the shape of the hydraulic lines. So just to check, because everything's slightly homemade here. It's not exactly how Ford would have had it on a 2 litre Pinto, not far off. So alternator to pulley, put the straight edge along, and they're in the same plane. Okay, so we know these brackets are right, and indeed they're going to be right because that is Ford correct setup there and there. The water pump to alternator again is the same setup, so I would have expected that to be right anyway. That's standard how they would have designed it. So everything's in the plane, everything's sort of in the parallel plane. You can see what I'm doing, making sure we're not miles out with anything. It is right. The only difference that would have been is that we've got this pump, which probably, as I said, probably wasn't designed to go on this setup. It might have been. It's possible. It could have been Mark V Cortina as well. It's possible. But anyway, regardless, it's level. Okay, so all those flange fronts are all in the same plane. I think that's the right word. They're all in line with each other, so the belt will run true like this, parallel to the engine. Everything parallel to the engine, and everything in the same line of sight, so the belts are running correct. So that looks like that setup's going to work. It's cobbled together from bits I've accumulated, eventually resulting in enough to get you a power steering setup for Tina G. I've put that engine mount on just so I can work out the pipe routing. Again, looking at this car, slightly different because it's a different pump. Essentially the bottom end of the pipes is the same as it routes past the engine mount and then comes up. It's only the length of the hose and the angle of the hose that changes with this pump. This pump's got a banjo fitting on it, which takes it off at the angle and then down, but it doesn't make a lot of difference. Let's just hope we get the pump pipes correct. As I said, I'll overcut the low pressure one because then I can cut to suit myself, but this one has to be right because it'll have a fitting sealed on the end of it, if you get what I mean. The top of this, I did try and straighten out the reservoir neck, but I got it as straight as I could, but it's still, the cap does not want to fit properly, so we're going to have to braze the neck of this coming up in my right hand and coming into your view right now. We're going to have to braze part of that neck on, hold on, backwards onto that with a brazier. It won't be that too bad, and it doesn't have fluid actually up that high, so even if there was a pinhole in it, it wouldn't leak out. But we're going to get it without any holes, of course. It's the city, so it's a trip out on the road to get the hoses. We're going to have to take the steering rack with us and the pump itself and take those to the hydraulic shop. Okay, so that's one section of the job. The belts have been ordered, the water pump's been ordered. I need to find an alternator. I think my motor factors, in fact I think KP's alternator is of the small type and it's got the Napa code on it, so I'll flip the bonnet on KP and read that Napa code, and it should be an alternator similar to this, similar to the Lucas ACR 127. I think they did a 17 amp and a 38 amp alternator, if I recall, but there's a lot of aftermarket ones that are beefier. I like the Lucas ACR 127. I think that's what's on here. I don't know why I can't just get the code off this one, because the pulley's gone on that one. All right, unless I've got a small pulley and this is a big bolt. I don't know, actually. I don't know why that is. Anyway, regardless, this is a big bolt, if you see, and fine for that, but no good for this small thread size here. That fits on there very nicely. But this alternator, you might say, oh, what's wrong with this one? I don't think that one works. Okay, I'm not putting on a second-hand alternator then driving to Gibraltar with a second-hand alternator. It's just not worth it. So we've got that. We need to build the steering linkage. It's down here. Now, I did find this one that someone's cobbled together, but it doesn't have the isolating bush on it. Someone obviously didn't care about feeling road vibrations through their steering. I don't want that. Now this one is the right length, but it's not the right fittings. So this donut needs to go onto that. So we've got to drill out, put a pin in, weld it. It's got to be built properly. Obviously that's a steering link, you can't mess with that, so that's bolt and braces, that one. That's indeed if we can't find an original Ford one. I'm looking at the moment for original Ford one. So steering linkage has to be done. It's a shorter length. This is a bigger diameter, by the way, than your normal steering rack. Your manual steering rack is a smaller diameter than this spline shaft. Sumps on, of course, we did it yesterday. Engine faces are all cleaned up. We've got to do some work on the cylinder head. We need to put valve stem seals on, inspect the camshaft. If we think we want to risk changing the camshaft for that new one, we will. The only thing that worries me is the cam bearings, but I've read that if they're not worn, leave them alone. In other words, what I'm saying is, when you swap a camshaft, do you always change your tower bearings or not? From what I've read, if they're all right, you can put the other camshaft in. They don't have to mate up necessarily. Plus, fitting the camshaft bearings into the towers requires real good skill, because they've got to go in completely true, interference fit, and you've got to be tooled to do that. It might not be necessary. Okay, head gasket I thought I had in stock. I haven't. I've ordered a Reens one. So that takes us up to where we are. We've got to hit the road, I think. I can't see if there's anything else I've missed. So mocking that up then, kind of like running a couple of jobs over each other concurrently. The parts of the old engine, the 1600 are in there. There's a 1600 head in there, which is a handy thing. Apparently that 1600 head is better on a 2 litre. Answers on a postcard for that. Again, researching it, 600 head flows better. Pinto heads were made too big. I don't know, I've read a few things. However, this one won't be the unleaded stamped head. So whilst you might have an advantage fitting the 1600 head here, if indeed it is, it looks like it's true, you wouldn't have the unleaded conversion on it, so it won't have hardened valve seats. Although again, even with a Type R cylinder head, there was no guarantee, whilst it might have been unleaded, that the valve seats were hardened, although I find that a bit conflicting. Code R, code RR seems to be hardened valve seats. Let's put it this way, Tina G's been running on that head for a long time, and there's no, well, without dropping the valves, but the ones that are open doesn't show any excessive any wear, and the engine was running nicely, so I think that head's fine. We'll leave with that. I know there's an argument to say don't mess with it, that because it wasn't a noisy cam, could just leave it alone. I'm tempted to just not put the new camshaft in. There is some pitting on some of the lobes, I noticed, but not bad. Certainly not scoring. There's some like corrosion pitting on some of the lobes. I'll show you that later on, see what you think out in Patreon land. Okay, well that's it for now. I'm going to hit the road. Backwards. I should be able to put the camera in KP. It's a long time since I've done it. It's a year. What you done in a year's time? Oh God, did I need a rest, or did I need a rest? I'm afraid. I'm sorry that I've been off the radar. Some who know me know why, some who don't. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong anyway. There's nothing wrong, everything's okay. I did need a break, but nothing's wrong. So, that is where we are at, folks. Let's get on the road and get some goodies bought. Okay? See you in a sec. Join me in KP.